All right, today we're diving into a story that is completely reshaping how we think about technology. Seriously, this isn't just another story about getting internet to more places. It's about a fundamental shift from being consumers of tech to becoming the architects of the next generation of AI. And that brings us to this one question, central question. You see, the AI revolution isn't neutral. For Indigenous peoples, it's a massive fork in the road. One path looks pretty familiar, a story of data extraction, what a lot of people are calling digital colonialism. But the other path, well, that's the one being built right now, and it leads to digital sovereignty. You know, for decades, the whole conversation was stuck on this idea of the digital divide, a story all about what Indigenous communities didn't have. But that story is getting old fast. The new reality is all about digital abundance. It's this incredible pivot from just consuming technology to actually building it, owning it, and governing it on their own terms. It's a complete flip from a story of deficits to one of real power. So, how does this new reality actually happen? Well, it starts at the ground level, literally. True digital sovereignty isn't just some abstract idea. It's about owning the physical hardware, the servers, the fiber optic cables, the actual metal and wire that our digital world is built on. This quote just nails the strategy here. For years, getting internet access, the connectivity, that was like building the roads into the community, super important. But now the focus is shifting to owning the AI, the engine that's going to drive the entire future economy. And Indigenous nations are making a huge play to own both the road and the engine. And when I say a huge play, I mean it. The scale here is just staggering. We are not talking about a couple of servers in a back room somewhere. The Mahita Oski Data Center, which is being led by the Woodland Cree First Nation, is planned as a 650 megawatt hyperscale facility. To put that in perspective, that's enough juice to power a small city, and it's big enough to train the world's most powerful AI models. This is a serious move on the global tech stage. But here's the real game changer. It's not just the size, it's the ownership model. The nation holds a 51% majority stake. This is an equity partnership, not just some lease agreement where they're a passive landlord. They're leveraging their own energy assets to create this massive revenue stream that flows right back into the community, funding social and cultural programs for generations to come. And this isn't just happening in one place. Way up north, as climate change opens new Arctic shipping lanes, those lanes are also becoming the next data superhighways. So, Inuit organizations like the Kikiktalu Corporation are getting in on the ground floor, positioning themselves to control this vital infrastructure. They're turning their geography into a strategic digital asset. Okay, so owning the hardware, that's step one. But what about the rules that actually run on that hardware? That brings us to our next piece, writing the sovereign code. This is all about building the legal and technical operating system to protect Indigenous data and knowledge. The groundwork for this was laid decades ago with a set of principles called OCAP. It's such a clear and powerful framework. Ownership. The nation owns its data, period. Not a researcher, not a corporation. Control. They decide how that data is used. Access. They manage who gets to see it. And crucially, possession. The data physically lives on servers that they control. But how do you actually enforce that in the age of AI? This is where things get so cool. They're using something called traditional knowledge labels, or TK labels. Basically, they're digital tags that attach customary law right onto a piece of data. Think of it like a digital stop sign for an AI. The AI would see a tag on a sacred story that says, seasonal use only, and know, hey, I can't scrape this for my training model. It's brilliant. And this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's the result of decades of hard legal work. I mean, from OCAP in the 90s, all the way to a landmark UN-backed treaty that was just signed in 2024. And what's the endgame? Well, the projection is that by 2030, this legal framework could create a data sovereignty dividend, where nations actually get paid royalties when their knowledge is used to train AI models. Okay, so this brings us to the third and maybe the most mind-bending pillar of this whole thing. We've talked about the physical body, the infrastructure, and the legal rules. But now we're talking about decolonizing the mind of the machine itself. We're talking about building AI that actually reflects Indigenous values and worldviews. This quote really gets to the heart of it. You can own the data center, you can own the servers, but if the AI running on it is still built with that same old extractive Western mindset, have you really achieved sovereignty? The goal here is to build a fundamentally different kind of intelligence. And right here, you can see the huge philosophical difference. Conventional AI, it so often optimizes for scarcity, for extraction, for short-term gains. Indigenous AI, on the other hand, is being designed around principles of abundance and relationality. It asks totally different questions, not how can we maximize this quarter's yield, but how do we ensure the health of this ecosystem for the next 7 generations?
And if you want to see a perfect real-world example of this in action, you have got to look at Papario. Tahiku Media in New Zealand built their very own AI for the Maori language. And get this, it achieved 92% accuracy, which actually outperformed the big tech giants. But they built it on their own terms. The data is protected by a guardianship license, and it's now become the gold standard for other Indigenous language revitalization projects around the world.
So let's put all these pieces together. What happens when you combine sovereign infrastructure, sovereign data laws, and sovereign algorithms? Well, you unlock an absolutely massive economic engine. You unlock the $100 billion future. $100 billion. That's the annual target that the Indigenomics Institute has set for the indigenous economy. Now, a few years ago, that might have sounded like a stretch, but now, with sovereign AI acting as this incredible economic accelerator, that goal isn't just seen as possible. It's seen as inevitable. And this is not just theoretical. There is a thriving ecosystem of Indigenous-led tech companies building this future right now. You've got companies like Anamiki building sovereign data software, Run With It Synthetics creating digital twins of entire cities to fight climate change, and Plato Testing, which is training a whole workforce to audit AI for bias. It's happening. And guess what? The money is noticing. Venture capital funds are waking up to what they're calling the sovereignty premium. That's the unique competitive edge that Indigenous-led companies have when it comes to things like trust, access to land for new infrastructure, and a proven ethical way of handling data. For investors who care about ESG, that premium is a huge, huge draw. It all leads to this powerful, really profound metaphor that just captures the spirit of this entire movement. In this new future, AI is the new buffalo. Think about it. Just like the buffalo was once the center of life and economy for nations on the plains, AI is now being seen as that kind of foundational resource. A resource that when it's managed with respect, with sovereignty, and with that long-term vision, has the power to provide for the community for generations and generations to come. And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. We know AI is changing everything. Our world, our economy, our whole society. The real question for the next 100 years is this: who gets to write the code?